Hello, lovelies. My name is Agnes van Rijn. I'm the owner of Freedom Lifestyle Business with Agnes and the founder of the Successful Women Academy Bootcamp. I have created the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show a few years ago with the objective to interview successful women so that their story, successes, challenges, and tips can inspire you to do the same. Today, it is my privilege to be interviewing Monikah Ogando. Sorry, how do I pronounce her name? Ogando, sorry. She is an Inc. 500 ranked CEO, and she has created a dynamic business coaching firm devoted to empowering entrepreneurs around the world to start and grow their business. While Monikah has an impressive biography that I will let her unfold, what I retain is that she is what her clients say, that she has the biggest impact coming from her philosophy of build your business to support your extraordinary life, ensuring your business revolves around your own personal values, lifestyle, and legacy. This, she says, is the most important key to bringing business owners their ultimate wealth and happiness. Welcome, Monikah.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you, Agnes.
And I welcome you because it's extremely early for you. It's 6 o'clock in the morning because today is a big day for you. You are going to do a TED Talk. Tell us.
Yes, I am actually in Wilmington University right now. It's a TEDx Talk.
Yeah.
And, those are all over the country, all over the world. This one is in Wilmington University. And so the background that you see is a really quaint dorm room that I'm in. Okay. They are wonderful hosts, and so they're like, no, you're not staying in a hotel and have to, we want to host you in our campus. So I'm glad to be in Wilmington University, and I'll be speaking later on, and it'll be recorded and the video will be up. So I'm glad to be able to share that with everybody.
And what will your topic be?
It'll be the soul and science of authoring your success.
Wow. Wow. How long later will it be published? When can we expect that?
I think it's 2 to 3 weeks after the live event. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be looking for that. Yeah. Look forward to it. So, Monikah, tell us a bit about your life. How has your life unfolded so far? How did you come where you are today?
I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, and then came to the United States when I was a wee bit, 10 years old. So part of most of my teenage years were spent in the United States. And so from college, my first career was as a financial planner. And I was responsible for making sure that high net worth individuals were putting their money in with my company, right? Their retirement, their investment portfolios, etc. And this was around the time of the .com bust, as they call it. And so, stockbrokers and stock management services were popping up online everywhere. E-Trade, Scott Trade, anything trade. And so the thinking was, well, why do I need to hire you if I can just do my own trading, et cetera? So we had to come up with a way to still attract and engage and retain our own clients, because just because the market fluctuates doesn't mean that your sales quotas or your job responsibilities change. Right? Mm-hmm. So I designed a program to do that, and my employers loved it, and they wanted to send me all over the country to teach it to other account managers, etc. But then come performance review time, they kind of ambushed me, and they were like, well, we didn't hire you to be a trainer. You're fired, and thank you, we'll keep your intellectual property. However, I did not sign an intellectual property agreement. So that firing squad soon became a negotiating table, and I walked away with a 6-figure deal for them to hire me as a trainer, as a consultant, and then to license my intellectual property so that they can then use it in derivative copyrights and all that stuff. So I got a primer on intellectual property law really early. And I remember when they were going to, I had to go to the accounting office, and they said, well, to whom do we make out this check? And I got nervous, and I said, Ogando Associates, right? Because it's just my last name, and it was Associates made it sound so big and professional. And I went home and I went on the internet and I incorporated my company and I got all the documentation that I needed to go to the bank and open a business checking account, because when I went on Friday to pick up that check, it needed to land somewhere, right?
Of course.
So that's how my business coaching company started. And fast forward 8 years, I was ranked in the Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. Now, the thing that's important and significant about that is that 2008 was one of the worst financial years for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was for me and for my business. So when I got this award, I was like, if these people only knew how much money I've lost in the last 12 months. And I wasn't feeling like a fastest growing anything, you know? And so I had to confront that imposter syndrome that a lot of entrepreneurs have to face, particularly women. Yeah.
I know this one, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it forced me to kind of Madonna-ize my business, you know, kind of like reinvent myself, reinvent my brand. I founded CEO Mastery as an offshoot of Ogando Associates. I just changed the name because I was working a lot with CEOs of small businesses and of small enterprises to really grow their businesses in a strategic way, right? So for me, my history was about, well, the market's fluctuating, but I'm still responsible for these sales. What do I do? And for them, you know, that's financial world is very cyclical. It came around again, you know, 7 years later. And so my work now is really about creating sustainable profits in business, right? So no matter what the market is doing, however it is fluctuating, whether you change your brand or not, you're still able to sustain a level of impact and growth and revenue that is worthy of the time and effort and struggle and sweat and tears that you put in it, you know? Yeah.
That's amazing. And so I understand that during those years in that process, you have also had to battle another battle. That's the case.
Well, that's actually what impelled me to start my business, because at the time I was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer and was given about a year to live. And so at the time, my daughter was 3 years old, and I was like, what am I going to do? You know, I don't want to leave her like this. There's got to be another way. You know, the doctors weren't giving me much hope, many answers. So I had to take matters into my own hands. I'm actually going to talk about this in the TED Talk. That there came a moment, and I think everybody faces the moment when you have to make a decision. And for me, it was, do you want to live or do you want to die? Because if you want to live, you shouldn't be looking at funeral homes and cemetery plots, and that's not relevant if you want to live, right? And if you want to die, then don't be looking at alternative healing therapies and just torturing your mind with what could be and the what ifs, etc. So you have to make that decision, and I chose to live. And so I had to put aside all talk of death and all talk of, you know, just limited living. And so for me, it was a journey of taking myself on. I had to confront, I don't know if the rest of your audience knows this, but anything that manifests in the physical starts in the emotional, right? It starts in the mental and the spiritual.
Absolutely. The power of the mind is amazing. Huh?
For me, I had to confront a lot of wounds that I had about my mother, about myself as a woman, as a mother myself, because it was cervical cancer, right? Like I was living in Miami, I was in the sun all the time. So why didn't I get skin cancer? You know, or I had been wearing contact lenses and glasses since I was 12 years old. So why didn't I get eye cancer? Like of all the cancers in the world, it was cervical. It's like the seat of your femininity. So I had to really look at that, you know, and confront a lot of misconceptions that I myself had about what femininity meant, resentments that I had about the sacrifices I've had to make just because I was born a woman. And so for me, it's important to work with women entrepreneurs so that they can own their own power and not use their gender either as a crutch, or as a lube, so to speak, right? Like, so our femininity can actually aid us in moving forward and not just impede our progress, particularly in the business world. So that's an important thing for me. And that's where the books have been about. You know, I'm a business coach and I'm very strategic in marketing, etc. But I find that even though people come to me presenting a business problem, I need more sales, how do I manage my team, etc. It's typically the business problem is typically a personal development problem in disguise.
Yeah.
And so that's why my first book, On Fire, and now this book that the TED Talk is based on, called Thrive Through It, Unlock Your Inner CEO, is about really owning yourself and your personal mastery so that your business can grow. And to the degree that you don't handle yourself, your business can't grow either.
It's funny because my motto is rule your business and your life. Do not let your business rule you and your life. And I mean, we exchanged a few words prior to this interview, but the work you do and the work I do is very aligned. Yes, this is fascinating. So tell me more about the work that you do currently. So who are your clients? I love asking who are your clients.
Typically they're women entrepreneurs. They're business owners. They run a company either as a solo, a one-person team, or a one-person team that is heading several vendors or employees, staff, etc. And typically service-oriented, right? So accountants, dentists, lawyers, coaches, speakers, authors. So there's some kind of gift that you have that you now use your business as the mechanism to deliver to the world. And those are the kinds of people that I work with.
And so generally speaking, where do you find them? Do you tend to work more online? Well, I suppose also, or are you finding them more locally? Do you work locally, worldwide?
Well, my clients are all over the world. And as a matter of fact, I was just talking to somebody yesterday over dinner about a very amazing passion project of mine in the Dominican Republic, working with their National Chamber of Commerce. And so people typically find me either by word of mouth, or they find me because they saw something on my social media platforms, right? So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., YouTube videos and whatnot. And so when they come across some piece of my social content assets, that's when they reach out to me and we either start a conversation about coaching or speaking. So sometimes they'll invite me to speak at their organization.
But I suppose that generally speaking, they approach you more from the angle of the business. They probably have no idea of what will follow.
Yeah, it's true. I joke with my clients all the time. They're like, I don't understand. I don't see how we do it. But eventually in our business coaching sessions, we typically end up speaking about God. And people sometimes think, okay, business and God doesn't mix, right? If business and spirituality doesn't mix. And I think that if you do not integrate all of the parts of your life, right? Personal relationship, your spirituality with what your business is doing, then everything is going to feel disjointed. And at some point you're going to run across a self-imposed roadblock. Just because, we as human beings, if you just notice anything in nature, all systems are integrated. There's a certain level of cogent connectivity with everything, right? So even in our own bodies, your diet and your exercise affects your respiratory system, your circulatory system, etc. It's not just this isolated thing that only affects your thighs when you do cardio, right? And so it's the same thing with business, who you are, who you say that you are, affects every area of your life, particularly how you present your gift to the world and how you are compensated for it.
Yeah, I that's what I keep saying. When you look at the business part only, basically it's a quick fix. At some point, something will hit you. Because you will discover that in fact you are standing in your own way. So if you don't look at all the parts, one day it will hit you. Yeah. So tell us more about the type of challenges that you are seeing, not for you at this stage, but for your clients. What are the biggest problems that they are facing?
Well, typically it's revenue. I need more sales. I need more revenue. Or, enough sales are coming in. Where's the money going? Somehow I'm bloated and I need to lean out my expenses or, so it's typically about increasing the bottom line. And for different businesses, it's not just a cookie cutter answer. Oh, you need to increase your outgoing calls, for example. I mean, the strategies may be different. It may be a branding issue. It might be an inconsistent brand or message issue. It might be that you're not using social media strategically, or, like that your expenses are bloated and you need to lean some of them out. And it's amazing to me sometimes how simple some of those changes can be that make the biggest difference. People hear the word quantum leap and they think it's like this big jump across this amazing chasm, and it's not like that. If you study physics, you will know that quantum is a very, very small quantity. Mm-hmm. And so it's called quantum leap because it is those small, simple changes that make the biggest difference in your business.
This is fascinating. Yeah, I was watching again a video by David Nagel this morning, which basically was talking about the obstacles that we are creating and facing. And it's fascinating. So these women that you are working with, how do you work with them in the sense of how do you relate to your own story? There's this whole discussion going on about, whether you should be that professional person that will, transfer expertise, etc. Or how do you relate to people by being authentic and etc. What's your approach to that?
Well, I don't think it's an either or. I think that your authenticity is part of your professionalism. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people mistake transparency for what we call TMI, right? Too much information. And we tend to have a little diarrhea of the mouth sometimes for the sake of authenticity, so we share a lot of personal details and, here are pictures of my children, throwing stuff on the wall. And it's like, we're good. We don't need to see all that, So for me, when I work with emerging leaders and established leaders, it's typically not so much about getting them to understand the power of authenticity. They pretty much get that. It's more about harnessing it so that it becomes a business, so that it becomes a support to your business as opposed to a hindrance to your brand. Yeah. And so when I work with people on a coaching level or a consulting level, there are no holds barred, right? It's kind of like, I don't know if I'm a fan of like the legal shows. I watch The Good Wife and Law and Order and all these legal dramas, right? And so one of the things that the lawyers always tell the defendants, like, I can't do my job if you don't tell me everything, and they don't want to get sideswiped and surprised in court, in front of the judge.
Yeah, of course, makes sense.
So it's the same thing with business coaching. It's like, I can't help you if you're thinking, I can't tell this is too personal, or this is, not appropriate. So you'd be surprised how colorful some of our coaching conversations are. We talk about sex and spirituality.
I'm not surprised at all. I definitely know everything about that, yeah.
And it's typical of women, we are very much, systemic that way. So we create permission for one another to delve into different areas and different domains of our lives, so that like for the sake of our business, we are willing to delve into other domains, whether it's relationships or fitness or, finances, personal and business finances, for the sake of, our one particular domain's success.
The other thing that I'm interested in, and it's funny because I saw a thread yesterday on Facebook, which was all around, you have those women entrepreneurs, they set up their business, and they set up their business basically because they want freedom, they want to have fun, etc. But somehow they don't want to run a business.
Right.
And then they
right.
Then they are in that situation where they are overwhelmed, of course, and the results are not there, and etc. And so I answered in one of those posts about the necessity to treat your business as a business if you want to have that freedom of choice and of, creating that lifestyle that you desire. So how do you approach that with your clients? Or do they in general understand well enough that is needed as well?
No, sometimes I do encounter people who put the cart before the horse. But we have to understand that a business is a human creation. and as such, it is made in our image and likeness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just like the human life has 4 phases, the business has 4 phases as well. And you have to know which phase you're in so that you know how to deal with it, right? So infancy and childhood is the first stage, kind of like for business is a startup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can just imagine a child when it's first born, it can't sit up, it can't eat, it can't feed itself, it can't grab a bottle, it can't do anything. You have to do everything for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the most labor intensive part of raising a child.
Absolutely.
And so, and even though you may just want to go down the street to the grocery store, you can't leave the baby alone. So you have to hug, grab the baby bag and grab the car seat and grab this and grab that. And it's like, I just want to go down the street for a cup of milk, And so it's the same thing with your business. You're starting to put the foundations. And so there's a lot of work involved, and there's a lot of sweat equity and very little to show for it, right? Because how many of us know, right? You have this child and you just cleaned their diaper, and 10 minutes later you have to do it again, And it's the same thing with your business. Like, I just fixed this website. What's happening, right? And so but that's the nature of this phase that you're in, the startup phase.
Yeah.
And so the next phase is adolescence. And in adolescence, just like the kid can now feed himself, right? And he can write and speak and communicate, and she's starting to form her own ideas, etc. So it's the same thing with your business. It's now, you kind of get an idea of where you're standing in the marketplace on your brand, etc. But not quite yet self-sufficient. That comes in adulthood, right? And so in adulthood, the business is supposed to, and we call that the startup phase, the scaffolding phase, right? You see a building with the scaffolding, right? That's adolescence in business. You still have to guide it.
You need that structure, yeah.
And then you have the pinnacle phase, where it's like the adult phase of your human life. You're a productive member of society. You have your own ideas, your own values, and this is the way you want to present in the world. And this business is the same. And then you have this legacy phase, where kind of associated with death or old age, and not to be disparaging, but this is the point where people either go public, they sell their company, or they rebrand. There's some sort of reinvention, right? So it doesn't mean like old age, like you're spent and you're put out to pasture. It's more like this is a time to now, what's the next life that you're inventing, right? The same thing with our own lives. Sometimes we go through those phases every couple of decades, or every decade, every whatever, right? So when you know what phase of business that you're in, then you can understand, okay, right now I can't go off to Tahiti because I have to build this business. But maybe when the business is, out of high school and on to college and out of the house, then maybe I could just pack my bags and go, Yeah.
I really love that parallel. I'm personally always making the parallel with a house that has become too small and what you need to do. I love this parallel as well. Yes, that's a very good one. Yeah, I will definitely remember that one. So it's really funny, yeah. So getting out with the diapers, etc. Yeah. What I find quite often as well is that people, in fact, do not have the clarity as to so the moment I'm backing up. The moment they step out of corporate, they have this idea, and usually it's associated with freedom and stuff like that. But and they think that whatever skills they have, they will just do it. But in fact, they don't have a clarity at all as to the business part of it. Mm-hmm. That's something you encounter as well, or
yeah. The talent of whatever your gift is, I call it TAGS, an acronym TAGS, mm-hmm. and it stands for talents, abilities, gifts, and skills. Mm-hmm. So you have you're tagged a particular way. You came manufacturer installed with certain talents, abilities, gifts, and skills, and you put this out in the world, and this is how your gift makes room for you and brings you in the presence of great men, and to quote the Bible. And so, but however, the mechanism to make that happen it requires a different set of skills.
Exactly.
So there's operational, fiduciary, financial, management, especially when you're bringing in a team of people to support you, even if it's just your first virtual assistant, or a bookkeeper, or, on a personal level, your personal trainer or a cook or a housekeeper, etc. There's a certain level of leadership and management of people that is required as a CEO that isn't so much the technical aspect of the delivery of your gift. And as you grow and as you unlock your inner CEO, as the title of one of my books says, you find yourself further and further removed from that gift, because now you're leading people. You're not just leading projects and efforts, you know? And so people sometimes, there's a little bit of an identity crisis when people see that they're growing. You know, when, for example, in a corporate setting, you've been a manager and you've been a director, you've been a VP, and now you're in the C level. You know, your responsibilities and what makes you shine is very different than somebody who's a technician. So yes, I do encounter that a lot. And it is something that needs to be addressed. You know, when we talk about, when I coach executives, that is something that we deal with a lot.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I'm seeing quite often is linked to, how would I say that? The irresponsible part that women can have when it comes to financial aspects, that they, you know, tend to confuse the money of the business with the money of their own, or they are completely mixing up. They don't know what their bottom line is. They don't know what their revenues are, or they don't know, or they only rely on their partner, and then life stands in the way, and all of a sudden the partner isn't there anymore for whatever reason, and it's the end of the world. Is that something you encounter a lot as well?
Yes. And I'll say this, it's kind of like eating baby food for diet, right? Going with that baby analogy.
Yeah.
You have to have your food, and the baby has to have its food. and so, you know, when you're growing your business, you have to be, this is particularly important when you're growing your business, to have very clear, thick boundary lines around money. It doesn't have to be like that forever. But just like with a baby, just like with a child, when you're teaching the baby about no and sharing and responsibility, and this is how we make our bed, and these are your chores, and da-da-da, and, you know, and you have to be on them, right? It's like, no, you missed, you know, and that level of rigor that you have so that you can teach the child to self-manage is exactly the same kind of rigor that you have to have with your business, so that your business can self-manage. And so you start inserting systems of checks and balances. You know, like, for example, if you have an advisory board, or if you have an accountant that goes through your financial statements every month, every quarter, however works for your budget, somebody needs to be able to tell you, no, we're not doing that. Because when you're your own boss, it's very easy to just cut yourself a check and just, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul. So you need to have a checks and balances system. Not just somebody that boss you around, but just to keep you honest, you know, just to keep you focused. Because as a CEO, you only have two jobs. One is to drive revenue, and the other is to drive the vision of the company. Now, how you do that, you know, whether it's with the direct involvement with the money, direct involvement with the people that support your growth, there are millions of ways to do that. But those are your only two jobs: drive revenue, drive vision. And so when you're able to do that, then you've stepped into the CEO level. Now, granted, when people are starting their businesses, you know, sometimes you are the janitor and the baker and the candlestick maker, and you're wearing 1,000 hats, right? So that also makes it difficult to create clear boundaries, because you're doing everything. But when you start getting clear on, you know, these are the job description things that I would want somebody to handle if they were handling the financial piece or the administrative piece, the operational piece, and you yourself start documenting, you know, how you want your business to run, so that when it grows enough to support that level of team support, then you've already built the garage for the car to land, so to speak, you know?
So how do you, well, I don't know, do you work also with entrepreneurs who are just starting off?
Yeah.
So how do you address this chicken and the egg thing about outsourcing? I don't have money, so I cannot hire someone. I will hire someone. I will invest when I have money.
Yes, right. So yeah, it is a chicken or the egg situation, right? So here's the thing. The reason why you're not growing as fast as you need to grow, or as fast as you want to grow, is because you don't have a team. It's not that when I grow, I'll have a team. I need a team so that I can grow.
Yeah.
You know? And so there are simple ways to do that. Even if it's just hiring somebody for 2 hours a week just 2 hours a week, $5 an hour or whatever, an intern, a marketing college student in your local area, whatever it is that you can afford, push yourself to be able to do that. You know, quit out of all the four, let's say 4 meals that you eat out in a restaurant that each one costs you $50 or whatever, skip one of them and redirect that money towards a virtual assistant or somebody that's going to help you grow your business. And
Yes.
it's also important. One of the reasons why sometimes people are hesitant to do that is because they invest their money hiring somebody that's not time for that yet. You know, when you're just first starting out, you don't need a publicist. You need somebody to help you make money and to get you to handle your systems. Forget the publicist right now, you know? And so when you know when to invest in whom, you know, at what stage of your life, at what stage of your business, then it's easier to make those investments.
Yeah. Fascinating. I could continue for hours with you. This is really going to be a must watch video. So I'm conscious that we don't have much time left. What are your biggest challenges? What have you been facing?
You mean right now or just in the 15 years?
Well, in the 15 years or now, whatever you think is most relevant for the people who will be watching this.
When I first started out, the biggest challenge that I had was just trying to gather too much information and using that as a delay tactic to make a decision. I just need more information. I need more research. I need, you know, and then I'm comparing what other people are doing, and, you know, not knowing, right, that you might see a great website or you might see a great email marketing sequence, etc., but you don't know the thinking that went through that, you know, that went into that and the strategy that went into that. So you're missing a great big piece of what makes that work. You know, you can't just duplicate the email and thinking that you're going to get the same results, right? So the biggest problem that I think startup entrepreneurs face when it comes to their own leadership and personal mastery is that entrepreneurs make decisions, and the decision isn't necessarily the most informed, but based on the information that you have at the time, you move this way. And then when you get more information, you might need to self-correct, and then you get more information and you self-correct again. But you've got to put one foot in front of the other in order for the journey to start. Otherwise, you know, if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, you'll never get moving. So that would have been, I would say that's the biggest challenge that I had when I first started. My challenge now is about being discerning enough about who I work with so that I can make my biggest impact, because I want to help everyone, right? And I want to pour into everybody. And then I can see, you know, somebody comes to me about money or trying to make more sales, and I can, before they finish talking, I can already see 20 things that they can do in their business, right? But as a business coach, I also have to be very conscious of, just because I see it doesn't mean you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that you have the consciousness to grow that quickly, or that you have the consciousness to just reinvent your brand and go this particular way because that's the most monetizable way, etc. So I have to meet people where they are. I can't want success for you more than you want it for yourself. And once my impetus and expertise meets somebody else's fire, you know, somebody else's commitment and willingness, and then that's explosive, you know? So,
yeah. Fascinating. So where can people find you?
My website is MonikahOgando.com. And then you can also find me on social media. Anywhere you put Monikah Ogando. It's Monikah Ogando on Twitter, Facebook.
It's Monikah at the end. Yeah.
Monikah. And then the last name is Ogando. Yep.
Okay. Do you have any specific offer or anything special going on currently, or not?
I would love to introduce people to my new book, Unlock Your Inner CEO. And you could just go to unlockyourinnerceo.com, and it's right there. I go through a lot of what I'm talking about here. I go through it in more detail, and I also give people exercises so that they can start taking that on. Sometimes people need a little bit of ramp up before they're ready for an executive coach and a business coach, etc. So these are some of the things that you can do on your own to start acting like a CEO and using your business as a CEO would use their business and lead their business. So yeah, I welcome people to that book. It's kind of my magnum opus right now.
So The next show of The Woman Who Makes Things Happen is going to be on Monday the 18th. So I've already announced her last week because I was still on the scheme 2 shows per week, per month, but I've decided to run them every week now. So now you came in between.
Yeah.
So on Monday, the 18th, I'm going to interview Val Bishara from valbishara.com, an
Awesome.
young woman that I really enjoy a lot. And for further information about the work that I do, people can go to anyesvanrijn.com, ANYESVANRHIJN.com. So thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this. And I'll meet you at the other side. Bye.
All right. Talk to you soon.